In this video, I'm going to talk about octaves. Now, if you're not a pianist or you are a pianist, but you're not interested in practicing octaves, skip this video or stick around for practicing strategies because I do want to talk about how I break down something and work my way up to increasing tempo, that sort of thing. So there could be things for everyone here. I'm first going to cover octave technique, a few pointers, a few general tips, and then look over a passage that I'll be practicing to increase the tempo and make my way up to playing it in a much more relaxed, fluid way. So let's get started. I would first look at the context of what you're improvising or what you're practicing, if it's a piece of repertoire, whatever it is. Understand what kind of sound you're looking for. If it's something really loud and climactic, okay, something like this, it's really fast, it's really loud, it's going to require you to have this up and down motion required to play each octave come from the elbow. So this whole thing here is locked and you're using this type of motion. Just using the same notes as an example, if it's something lighter and more fluttery, you're going to want to have this up and down motion come from your wrists. So you see there is a huge difference between this technique and this technique. And the difference in the result of the sound will be a difference in volume and articulation. What you then have to do is pay attention to the thumb in both cases, because when you are playing a passage, let's just use a chromatic scale, for example. Here, I'm alternating fingers on the top, but on the bottom, I'm not. So that is tricky because this is not a natural thing to do, to hop around with your thumb like that. So concentrate on the thumb. What do I mean by that? Just isolate that, practice the passage with the thumb only. But when you're practicing it, a lot of people just kind of curl up and practice only the thumb. Try to keep that wider stance while practicing only the thumb. A lot of times we'll want to voice a certain note to stand out more than the other. A lot of times it is the top note. I almost hesitate to say this because I don't want anyone to actually intentionally try to change your wrist position, but I find that a lot of times when I am trying to bring out the top note a little more, there's a slight tilt in my wrist. So if I'm bringing out these notes here, I'll just raise it slightly so that I have a little more space here to have control over that top note. But that's just a side note. Now moving on to a passage that I'd like to practice today. It goes like this. And I want it to be a lot faster, like... No, wait, that's maybe a little too ambitious. Something like that. I'll at least go for it. I'll at least try. So I cannot do it yet, but I want it to be at this tempo. So let's work on that. First of all, like I pointed out before, I'm going to concentrate on the thumb. Maybe I will split up into different sections. So first, looking at this turnaround. Maybe try it in different positions. Let's move on to here. A turnaround with a major 6/4. Okay, so here I noticed that once I pass this note here, these three notes for some reason get me tripped up because I want to do another turnaround before that. So I am going to play from the top with just my thumb and match these pitches with my left hand, just so that I extra focus on it a little more. So now I can continue like this and work out different sections with only my thumb, but for the purposes of the video, I'm going to move on to include my fifth finger. So the same thing like before, I'm just going to concentrate on the first 5 notes, this turnaround. So I noticed that I have a little more trouble with this fourth here. So I may reduce the amount of notes and just go with 3. So let's extend this and play fourths, maybe just ascending. Basically going to loop this and practice it so that this will, in a few minutes or a little more than that, it'll feel much more easier. The next thing I'm going to do is divide this into sections so that it's better organized. It's basically just a way for me to divide up what I'm paying attention to as I go instead of looking at this as a whole run. And I could get easily overwhelmed. So just looking at it in chunks, similar to how we started practicing it, but when you're actually playing it, I first look at this 1 and then 2, and this I look at as a transition, even though it is basically the first group repeated, but I treat it as a separate thing. Transition and the repetition of the first group and the second group. So again, 1, 2, transition, 1, 2. I may keep repeating this just so that I imprint these groups. Okay, at this point, I need a break, so I'm going to take that. So that's it for now. I do want to cover this more in the future because personally, I think I need to work on octaves a lot more than certain other techniques. I naturally have avoided octaves in so many different ways, whether it's in improvisation or in my own writing, in repertoire. Just growing up, I kind of stayed away from the very octave heavy pieces. And I think that's also why I avoided Liszt for so long. But when used in the right context, I think octaves are very beautiful. But a lot of times they can end up sounding jarring or just, I don't know, a little boring, a little square sounding. No, that's not the word. Anyway, that's all for now. I will see you in the next video.